Welcome to the Droids You Are Looking For podcast, episode 14. Yep, 14. Well, technically, if you want to split hairs, it's 22 because we've done a lot of additional content. But really, in terms of the big type of podcast, it's only episode 14, which is fine. We're going to review vampires in modern history. It's just kind of like ranging from, since the beginning with, Count Orlok and Nosferatu, all the way up to even Vampire Diaries. Vampire Diaries. But it was definitely a decent podcast, and one of our mins and girlfriend, Ginger, also Taryn, my girlfriend, was able to join the podcast, so it was actually a lot of fun. So, with that said, before I kick this one off, I want to do another shout out to Nerd Appropriate. We definitely appreciate that you did a nice throw for us, and I know we're beating a dead horse here since we've already thrown out a pile of them, but let's just make sure that, they give credit where it's due. So with that said, episode 14's up, and enjoy your chimichanga.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic. You think we can manage that?
So, this is not my podcast. I just showed up for it.
All right.
So, you're going to have to impress me now.
I don't need to impress anyone.
I'm not carrying this one.
All right. I'm going to carry this one.
Yeah. I've heard that a few times.
Hey, why don't you shut your mouth and let me start the podcast?
Hey, I put the notes up for you.
Hey,
You're welcome.
Shut up.
Keep it down, Baker. Keep it down.
Anyway, welcome
I
everyone.
just know better than to get involved in this.
Welcome everyone to episode 14 of the Droids You're Looking For podcast, and today we're going to be doing a podcast about vampires, and it's not really going to be generalized to a couple of shows. We're actually going to be doing a whole thing about different legends, different myths and lores about different vampires from, anything from Interview with the Vampire to, dare I say it,
Lost Boys. Oh,
that was good.
yeah, it was good.
Yeah, but we're gonna go over every vampire movie that we can think of, even Twilight.
Oh, we talking about you are Bella.
I am not a Kristen Stewart lookalike.
We're gonna. You know what? That's what you should do for cosplay. We should sparkle you. And see how no one's defending you? Because you do look like Kristen
coming
Stewart.
to my defense because I'll kill everybody.
I
don't need anyone to come to my defense.
Jump in on this conversation because
Well,
I'm close enough to get hit, and I'm getting
so
the
is
death
Todd.
already.
But the best part is, Raina must be happy because Brian isn't here. Oh, she's gonna stab me. That is unsportsmanlike.
Anyway, so the first question that we have is basically just more. Our first topic is the myth of vampires and how it's been modernized over the years. So we go from back in the earliest movies of Dracula to.
You go back to like the Bela
Nosferatu,
Lugosi
yes.
days, and yeah. I mean,
And then you go to Twilight, and then you just want to take a shotgun to that movie and all the books, and then just...
easy. You might upset our Twilight audience.
Some people really enjoyed that movie.
I didn't.
I personally didn't either.
Taryn likes Twilight. She was
I
a
think
Twilight
Bella-
fan.
I think
I liked the books. I'm not a huge Edward Patterson fan.
No, but I think
Bella is a bad role model. That's where my hatred stems of the Twilight movies and the books, is that Bella is not a good role model for modern young women. It's aimed at impressionable girls. Bella is not a good role model. That's it.
well, what do you mean? You got some other great role models like Suka.
It's okay. Not saying she's a good role model. Anyhow, so
Wasn't she rogue? She was a great rogue, you know?
right.
I love that.
So anywho, so we got Todd on the podcast, we got myself, Rainer, we got Baker, and we got Taryn. To the Gingers here.
Finally.
Yay!
She finally came downstairs.
So she's gonna help me carry this through. So, Taryn, how do you think that they've been modernized over the years? Pressure's on.
Oh, of course, stage fright's kicked in.
All right, we'll do it.
Of all people, she's like a diehard vampire fan. Now she's like a deer.
We'll get the ball rolling,
headlights.
Todd. How do you think they've been modernized?
I mean, they've been modernized in so many different ways. Like, I mean, they kept up with how things have changed over the years. Like, a great example was the interview with the vampire. You got to see how they've changed via timelines, but then you have your Twilights and your... Oh, there was another horrible one. I can't even think of it. But I think that over the years, they've had a lot of up and downs, and unfortunately, since the 90s, a lot more downs than ups. And that comment sounds bad on its own. Like, I mean, the real... I guess the last real, air quotes, vampire movie I've ever watched was John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yeah.
Only because it's like, here you go, here is a brutal vampire movie, and you're like, holy shit, James Woods is in it. And Woods stabbing with wood, see the correlation? I do. Maybe you don't. Maybe you had wood during it. Who knew? But I think when you watch them now, a lot of the vampire movies and TV shows are missing things. I am excluding Dracula from this part of the conversation. I feel that some of the shows that I've watched, including True Blood, I don't know. Like, I mean, the selling points of being a vampire is like being slick and being a massive sexual being and could be a borderline animal. Now it's just kind of like, I sparkle. Like, what happened? What happened?
See, and the vampires on Buffy were exactly that. I think it's my opinion that the vampires on True Blood are that. They are still very animalistic. They're very sexually driven. I mean, Eric has pretty much slept with just about everybody.
Northman! Oh! Sorry, I did it for you guys.
Awkward.
It's awkward. I'm dating you until Eric Northman comes on TV.
No, I think that's the biggest change. Well, not the big. Well, yeah, the biggest change since the beginning when you had Nosferatu, who was not good looking. He was very ugly, had long fingernails, was very gross, and now it's all changed to vampires are sexy and they can draw you in and.
Well, isn't that that's how they got their prey, was by being attractive. They lured them in with being.
Well, there was some of that, but I mean, even if you go to what has become the quintessential canon vampire, if you will, with how Bram Stoker's was, he didn't get to that attractiveness until he had done some very serious feeding. Right? He did not become, Gary Oldman hot. until
what is Commissioner Gordon doing?
Sirius Black?
I would say he didn't turn into the suave the suave vampire until he'd fed for how long?
Yeah, and to go from Count Orlok and Nosferatu to having Alucard, Dracula, Vlad the Impaler, whatever, that's a huge change. But if you think about it, Count Orlok is not a marketable character. You had a movie and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then beyond that, you're like, it's not something you go away you see. But then you have a character named Dracula who, to Baker's point, is that he is decrepit until he feeds, and then he becomes this suave motherfucker. And then he's got women throwing themselves at him and stuff like that. It entrances women into like a fantasy world that this is something they would want for the most part.
But that is part of vampire lore, is it's kind of like their youth elixir is human blood.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like any human. The longer you go without feeding, like your skin starts to change, your hair falls out, things like that when you're really unhealthy. So it's the same for a vampire. You drink blood, you become sexy again.
I don't know if that, in terms of that's followed in Buffy, but
no.
I think it was in the movie.
The
movie, I think they did.
I have to rewatch the movie. It's been so long.
Christy Swanson's career was amazing.
In the show, yeah, as soon as they go to feed, they turn into their demon. Because that's how they are. They're technically, they call themselves demons. And as soon as they go to feed, they turn into their demon form, which is not pretty. But as soon as they're done feeding, they go back to their quote-unquote human face.
I don't know. I like the bumpies.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you...
Just to be confident.
Even, like, with Interview with the Vampire, he didn't age per se, but you kind of could tell when he hasn't fed in a while.
Well, yeah, you don't
I can
age
see
as
you
a
seem
vampire.
paler than normal.
Yeah,
Oh my shit, man! You're paler than a ginger kid. Oh, he's sick. That's pretty pale.
Well, yeah, they don't die. They just desiccate.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
age. Yeah, they turn into living corpses, mummies.
Right. But I think that there's a lot of errors that happen, and I always say I stop at the 90s because I feel that up to the 90s, vampires were on a good roll, and I'm not counting TV shows, talking about movies only. That
Yeah.
when it comes down to the movies, for the most part, it was pretty bang on, and then after that, someone's like, "Oh, vampires! I remember those. Let's make it more engineered towards teenagers and sell it that way."
So, with that being done, the modernization of vampires, what do you think about their struggle with their former humanity and emotions?
Well, I mean, from my personal aspect, I think every vampire is different. Like, you look at the Eric Northman vampire versus the Lestat vampire versus Dracula. They all handle it differently. Eric Northman, for the most part, doesn't give a fuck. He's pretty much happy about not giving a fuck. Until he went through that weird stage where he basically became a 5-year-old boy in his head. That was kind of weird. The whole super happy Northman. But Bram Stoker, Dracula, I think dealt with the most. He dealt with a lot of. It's like his emotions were heightened because he was longing to be back with Lucy and
No, Mina.
Mina. I get them mixed up.
That's
Shit.
okay.
Well, in this version, Lucy is not a crazed lesbian vampire like she is in the new one. But I ruined that episode. But
Spoilers.
spoiler alert. No, but I mean, he dealt with it a lot because he kept seeing a lot in her, in his version of her from previous years, and he couldn't handle it very well, which drove him to lunacy. I think that was the reason why he became a vampire, because he swore against the Catholic Church. If I remember exactly. I don't know. I haven't watched that in a while. But
He went against the church because the church had said she'd gone to hell because she'd committed suicide,
right.
thinking that he was dead. And like many people, they don't like that idea. So yeah.
how dare you go against the Catholic Church? Today, you're a vampire. Tomorrow, you will be a frog.
Well, then he, of course, drank blood and did a whole bunch of things, and essentially made a pact with the devil for eternal life, and lost his soul in the process.
It
And
turned out just fine. He ended up being Commissioner Gordon at the end of the day. It's not too bad. He gets to retire with a lot of money.
if he's an actor, yeah.
If he's an actor. Gary Oldman cannot complain, even his little weird role in Fifth Element.
Yeah.
I loved his role in Fifth Element.
I did, until
He was such a creepy
kept
little
making
dude.
that little weird face creep me out.
All right,
But,
off topic.
off topic.
I think the Vampire Diaries has a good story arc when it comes to their humanity, because they actually really play on that through seasons 2 and 3, and Stefan Salvatore, played by Paul Wesley, struggles the most. Basically, they really touch on when you're turned into a vampire, all your emotions are heightened, so if a human feels happy, they're ecstatic, it's euphoria. If they're upset, it's despair, anger, rage. And I think and we see them struggle with that. And I think in the Vampire Diaries storyline, they get to a point where they're so overwhelmed with their emotions, they have the opportunity just to flick a switch and shut it right off. That way they don't feel the pain of their choices, which we see Stefan struggle with.
We see Damon not struggling with that at all.
He-
Not in the episodes I've watched so far.
Yeah, Damon was more of the one who let go a lot, but
You think they can do that? Just let go, because
it's just they just say like turn it off. You can just turn off your emotions, but there's consequences of that because you don't feel no remorse and do whatever you want without consequences.
Well, I guess it depends on which vampire you're gonna go with. I mean, in Buffy, they say they have no soul.
Right.
They are demons. They don't care who they feed on, any of that. But when you go with other vampires, you go with True Blood, you go with Vampire Diaries, you go with even Twilight. Ugh! But even going back, but Lost Boys, same thing. They had no souls. They didn't care about who they fed on.
See, and whether it's a matter of soul or not, I think the reason that you see so many vampire shows and movies distancing themselves from their humanity isn't because they might be soulless monsters, but because I'm an immortal, superpowered being that feeds on the blood of human beings. So you're all beneath me because you're below me on the food chain. So I really don't give a shit about you.
Well, I can see
It's
that.
a power trip more, I think, than an emotional journey or a soulless killing machine.
I think they lose the morality once the feeding begins.
It's just their moral compass is challenged because they have
That's
the
a heavy
they
challenge,
have,
yeah.
they have the ability to do whatever they want without the consequences, or they struggle with it. I don't necessarily think it's a god complex that they have. I just think that depending on which
Yeah, like
Well, maybe not so much a god complex, but I don't feel all that much remorse when I'm frying up my bacon in the morning. I don't see why they would have any remorse when they're mowing down
you killed Babe?
every morning.
Oh God. I think that some vampires can get a god complex. I think that Eric Northman is a standing example of a god complex because he is very old and he just doesn't give a fuck about anybody. He kill anybody he wants. He just thinks that he is. I think he is a shining example. Not him. What's his name? The one vampire they buried in concrete at the end of season. You know who I'm talking about? The one
Yeah.
King of Mississippi.
The King of Mississippi.
Yeah.
He had a massive
Why
god
can't I remember
complex
his name?
because he felt he can control everyone, feed on anyone he wants without consequence. I think that would be a shining example to your point. I think the morality, which is where I would go to, which will follow Taryn's point, would be Louis from Interview with the Vampire.
Yes.
Because he knows he needs to feed, but he doesn't want to feed because he knows it's morally wrong, but he still does it anyways, and his morality is constantly being challenged because he's like, I don't want to do it, but I have to do it or I'm gonna die.
But you look at Angel, Angel, even, Taryn had me start, she asked me, you watched some episodes and I did, and you know what, it's not that horrible. It's not as bad as I thought it was. I'm on episode 8. Damn it, Taryn. Damn it. But, he feeds on animals.
Mm-hmm.
If you could be sustained that way, but they point out everything, anyone who feeds on an animal like Angel, oh, how many squirrels have you eaten this week? And, are you as strong as you were, as strong as you are not feeding on human blood? Same with Stefan. His powers are weaker. And even in Twilight, they feed on animals, and they have said that they are not as strong as other vampires who feed on humans. So I think that they've taken a lot from older vampires. It was just feeding on humans. And I think a lot of people I think maybe people thought that was too cruel, so they started writing in, let's feed on animals. Maybe it's a little too messed up, it's too murderous, but personally, you're a vampire. You feed on human blood.
I think Vampire Diaries circled back on a topic that could be done, which is not done, is the blood packs, because they started feeding from blood packs from it so the morality isn't challenged. But then, on that point, with vampires, I think they have some type of morality, and maybe it's just disregarded. I don't know if everyone's seen the movie Daybreakers.
Oh, not for a long time.
Oh, that's.
But that film.
Is that Ethan Hawke?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
With
then I
William
know
Dafoe as a character as Elvis.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, badass. No, but I mean, it really proves the point that even vampires need to carry some type of morality or what's going to happen. You're not going to have any food. Like, that's basically what happened in that film is that they started using humans as fucking blood banks, and the blood banks eventually dried up. And then what did you have? A decent film, yes. Like, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I thought Daybreakers was really good because it explored an area that we never went before with vampires in the film industry is, what if their food did dry up? Because every movie's about, or every show's about, they're feeding on everybody, we need to stop this. But what if they did get past that part? What if they did go, oh, fuck, now we're running out of food?
Well, I think the reason why they haven't gone past that point in movies before that is because the vampire problem was restricted to like 1 or 2 or 3. It's not like they everybody turned.
Right.
Right. In this scenario, it was some kind of a virus, if I'm remembering the movie right.
I believe so.
That people had a somewhat of a choice of getting it or not getting it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
So,
in True Blood, the last season, it was bomb the True Blood factories. Okay, there goes your synthetic blood. There goes your food, and then it was start making vampires. So the humans all of a sudden started being, they started being thinned out, but more vampires were around. So it's like I think if True Blood could have kept going that way, they didn't go in the other direction where Billith saves the world or vampire world. They probably could have gone in that sense. The humans are gone, and it's just vampires. Congratulations! Like you've just eradicated your
you killed yourself.
Your food, yeah, and now you're going to die of starvation. Cool.
Like I think that True Blood is the current. I think is the most current. Guide to what it's like to be a vampire right now.
I'd say supernatural because
I'd say Vampire Diaries.
According to lore, they are able to go out in the sun. It's like original lore. Yeah, they're able to go out in the sun. It's just like a really, really, really bad sunburn. And supernatural, if anything, like a 3rd degree sunburn. If anything, supernatural has kept it closest to that. And their vampires is probably one of my favorites because you have Benny. He's my vampire hero. I love him, and he feeds on blood bags. Like he will go to a hospital and he will still, that's how he
that's
eats.
not morally wrong. What if someone eats that blood?
Didn't Benny end up getting killed in the last season too?
He's in purgatory.
Okay.
He's even better. Purgatory.
Where all the other monsters
That's
live.
just down the street. No, but I mean, in terms of the animalistic. Sexual vampires, then True Blood bangs it the most.
Yes, True Blood, yes.
Vampire Diaries, I think Vampire Diaries is more the realistic, moral vampire, because you see them struggle with a lot, morally.
Same with in Buffy when they have their souls back, like Spike when he gets the chip in his head, and when Angel has his soul, you see him, they struggle. And even... Tara, when Tara was turned in True Blood, she didn't want to feed on a human.
Yeah.
And she drank bottle after bottle of True Blood, but she still, you still don't,
Tara needs to get fucking staked. Her fucking creepy ass face.
You think her mom is infected with Hep B and that's at the end of at the last episode of the season?
I don't know.
She drank from her?
Yeah, she might be.
I think my problem is with that show is that it's gone on one season too long.
A lot of things did.
And it did. Like, I'm going to use Dexter as a shining example, is that sometimes just because you're making money doesn't necessarily mean you should end it. It's just... Because True Blood now is just kind of like every single season, like, what's next? They're going to bring in werewolves? Boom, werewolves. What's next? They're going to bring in fairies? Oh, fuck, we brought in fairies. What's next? We're going to bring in zombies? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Is Hollywood this much out of ideas?
Oh,
I get the point that they're running out of ideas because they're recycling everything, but in terms of the vampire, like, they could do so much more with like True Blood. Like,
the thing is with vampires is there's always going to be werewolves. They're like again mythology. It's vampires and werewolves are always mortal or immoral enemies, I guess.
Well, yeah they're going to be yin and yang into each other, of course.
No, I was going to say in the Vampire Diaries they have a good storyline there because in the Vampire Diary world. A bite from a werewolf can kill a vampire, and there's no cure.
Well, that's actually real lore, because that is true, and also the actual lore of vampires is that werewolves are the bitter enemies of vampires.
Wasn't that
Underworld as well also carried that idea as well until they ruined that franchise.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's true, though. If you pick up anything, and this is even ranging to White Wolf's RPG books, Vampire the Masquerade, you're bit by a fucking werewolf, you're basically fucked. Like, there's ways for you to survive it, but you won't make it. You'll have some type of long-term damage or something to that effect. And then if you looked into, there was something else that carried it as well. And that's why werewolves were always a bitter enemy to vampires, because they had that ability, that one bite, it's done. But, what do I know?
Apparently a lot.
I know more than I should. I guess I would say.
Yeah, for someone who makes fun of vampire stuff, you actually know.
I am a
bit.
diehard fanatic for vampires, but the problem
You
is
deny it.
no, I don't deny it. I stand by my. It's just when they look at vampire movies post the 90s,
Post
it's
the
like
90s.
what the fuck happened? It's like we got Twilight. I'm like
I
fuck
won't
you.
deny. I won't.
I have Lost Boys. Bring
Yeah.
me Kiefer Sutherland. He makes good vampire movies.
Yeah.
And here comes Kiefer Sutherland pop. Another 24 show. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, they're making another one. But I think that a lot of the movies now are just like, fuck it. It's the same shit. I get it.
No, it's not. They
But
have
here's the
so
thing.
much lore that they can go from, and that's why, again, Twilight tends to piss me off, is that she took everything away from traditional vampire lore, and it's like, they don't sleep. They aren't really sexual beings. They sparkle, for fuck's sake. Like, that's the biggest thing.
I honestly, it's like the sparkle. I see a little fairy.
The only
like
thing
Tinkerbell fly
the
by.
only thing that she kept close was that as they age, they are technically supposed to get stronger. That's also in traditional vampire lore. But like Interview with the Vampire, you punch them and it's like punching porcelain, like a porcelain statue, and that's what it is with True Blood.
Yeah.
Or Twilight. But you don't hear of that much. It's usually a stake to the heart. They have to be beheaded and burned. Like, their entire body has to be burned. So, I mean, if anything, Twilight's the one that kind of moved the furthest away from traditional vampires. And I think that's why a lot of people, it's like half the planet likes it and half the planet doesn't. I mean, half the planet's, adolescent girls that swoon over Robert Pattinson, and Keelan Lutz is really good looking, I'm not gonna lie. He wins.
Okay, listen, I don't want to see your puddles here. Just relax.
Anyway.
Of all those things that she gained, you know what she didn't get? Acting ability.
I think that's in any movie.
Oh, fuck.
Stop comparing me to Kristen Stewart.
I actually think you can act. There's a difference.
I can actually.
There's a range of emotions that go on your face.
All we have to say is that Gambit sucks. I will see more emotion in that 5 minutes than I will see with any of Kristen Stewart's movies. Look, you know what? One of these days we are going to record a podcast live on video and post it just so you can see her face when she rages over Gambit sucks comment or any type of rude X-Men comment. Because it's hilarious to me.
It's hilarious to everybody. I asked Dan, I said, hey, Dan, is it really that funny when I rage out? He's like, it's pretty fucking funny.
It is pretty
fuck
funny.
You, Dan.
It is funny.
So my question is how excited are you that they're going to make an Age of Apocalypse movie?
So let's go back to the topic of vampires.
Yes.
So, okay. Fuck you guys.
Hey, look at the bright side. Brian's not here.
And that's why you guys are trying to filter. Anyway.
We're filling in.
Yeah. So, I don't actually watch the Dracula TV
what?
show. Taryn does.
What?
I haven't seen it either. I'm
what?
sorry.
Taryn,
wow.
You can carry us through this because I don't watch it.
Well, Todd and I have been watching it, but it starts off kind of slow. But basically, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers plays Dracula, as we know, but basically disguises himself as an American entrepreneur, and it's set in London in 1896. It's loosely based off the actual Dracula story by Bram Stoker, but there's a lot of differences. But for the most part, they have most of the main characters. They have Renfield, Lucy, Mina.
They really did it loosely, and I suspect Lucy is that they'll say you have your Dracula, you have your Mina, you have your Lucy, you have your Harker, you have your Renfield. That's it. They kept it to the point that you have the love story. They kept it that you'll still have Dracula chasing the character, but this version of it's actually interesting because they explore his obsession, and this goes back to my point I was saying earlier about can they still feel emotions, is that his character is a standing example that his character is overwhelmed with emotion still, especially with chasing what's-her-face, I can't remember her name. Mina. It's Mina?
Well, basically because we find out that Mina is identical to his wife from his past, Ilona, and basically he's now bent on revenge against those who murdered his wife, which we learn as we go on in the series that a society called Order of the Dragon actually executed his wife. And
not the Catholic Church took that out.
Well, the Catholic Church didn't execute his wife. What
Well,
happened was
they condemned her to hell.
they condemned her to hell because
But
she committed suicide because the Turks. I want to say it was the Turks.
They felt
the invading Ottoman Empire sent a message saying that he'd been killed in battle, and then she jumped from a tower window.
I think what they felt with this show is that they wanted to get away from the religion aspect of it because
Probably
the world is so diverse right now and trying to accept all religions. So they removed which was a huge key part, which was always going to be a huge key part of a vampire show. And fuck you if you say otherwise, because vampires are afraid of crosses. I'm sorry. That always has existed. Before you go to fucking Twilight and your little supernatural shit, it was always fucking crosses. Crosses always bothered them.
Because, again,
they were considered as
demons.
a demon. But they removed that out of the show. And how they intertwined that back is they introduced the... sorry. You just told me the name of the group. Sorry.
Or the Dragon.
Or the Dragon. And now you have Van Helsing helping him? Isn't that weird?
That is very weird.
But the way how they did it, though, makes sense. He's doing it in such a way that it's not like, I'm helping you to survive. No, I'm helping you to advance my goals. And his goals is to get back at that clan as well, because that clan murdered his family. So he's using Dracula as a pawn to advance himself.
Right, and in the show, whereas the Order of the Dragon was in the past and in the book done to help fight Christianity in Eastern Europe, now it's kind of like a high society, like, I don't know, almost like a...
cheesy phrase of gentleman's club, maybe?
Yeah, maybe, but they're pretty much privileged and they control the fate of pretty much everyone around them. But they're rich, so they have power, which basically seems to be a strong theme in the show right now.
I feel that NBC is taking a huge risk with this show. Because this show is graphic.
NBC? Really?
It's an NBC
Wow.
show. They air it at 10 p.m.
Show.
And let me tell you, graphic,
10 people. Oh, no.
this show can almost combat True Blood's graphic.
Really?
It is gory.
Wow.
Like, there was a scene where he lost his shit, and I'm not going to give too much away, and he ended up tearing these three guys to pieces. And I'm stressing, there's like, you saw the arm get ripped right off, and this is NBC, but mind you, they're getting away with that now, because I think
everyone tries to push the envelope.
And they really are. And when I watched the first episode with Taryn, I won't lie to you, I was very skeptical. I was like, I don't know, because the first episode was good, but it wasn't attractive enough, I would say. But then you saw the second episode and the way how Dracula is being played, and you get to see his wide range of emotions and the people that they set up, especially the guy that plays Renfield is that giant black guy in the Jack Ryan movie. And it threw me for a loop at first because you're used to Renfield being that old crazy man and stuck in the insane asylum. You have this giant guy and he just can carry himself, and it was insane. But I feel that the show is doing very well. I just don't know how long they can keep it alive.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it does look like Dracula is not going to see a season 2.
Why not?
Its ratings have been suffering over the last 3 weeks.
Well, it hasn't been on the last 3 weeks.
Well,
you mean the last 3 episodes?
The last.
I was gonna say, because we're kind of on a mid-season break. I'm like,
Yeah,
fuck you, man.
Like the last 3 episodes, its ratings is.
It's really weird though, because
but let's be
But that
honest,
does-
good shows get canceled all the time.
Does it actually say that it's not going to get a second season?
Or are you just saying because the ratings keep dropping? Because if that's the logic we're using, then how does S.H.I.E.L.D. still have a job? How does everyone at S.H.I.E.L.D. have a job?
Everyone at S.H.I.E.L.D. has a job because they were already
Disney. Fuck you.
Yeah, Disney and money. And until Avengers 2 comes out or Guardians of the Galaxy comes out, it's not going to be very good. But Dracula's gone from having an initial 1.8 million adults between the ages of 18 and 49 viewing down to only 0.81, so less than 1 million viewers a week.
Well, look at the time, and I'm not going to defend it fully. I'm going to say, look at the time slot it's at.
Yeah.
What is the time slot?
It's like 10 p.m. Like, no one knows even it's
I'm in
even
bed
there.
at 10.
10 p.m. on a Friday.
10 p.m. on a Friday.
People
yeah,
go
That's
out.
ludicrous.
That's a death sentence. That's a death sentence.
They set it
That's
up
what
for
happened.
failure.
Kidding.
And what I was saying to Taryn the other day is too is that if this show ends up on HBO, it will sell.
Yeah.
They will give it a good time slot on HBO because they can do whatever the fuck they
If
want.
they get
with
picked up on a different night, because Supernatural's been every day of the week in different time slots. Like I remember I started
It's been on
watching it.
Thursdays.
Yeah, it's
It
been on
feels like-
Thursdays, Fridays, and now it's last year was on Wednesdays. Now it's on Tuesdays, and it was on Monday at one point.
Yeah.
And even with those ratings for the time slot it has, I'm not gonna say it's decent, but it's almost expected.
Yeah. Oh
Because
yeah.
you're setting up, they're pulling a Firefly. It's like, we're going to air a Fire and maybe some people will watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
no,
and
it's
that's the bad part. but-
it's in a really, really bad time slot.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 p.m. on a Friday.
Who's
Their
home?
prime demographic is
it's
doing
either
whatever.
are you home or are you awake? I know I was passed out by 10:30 because I get up at 5:30
Not us.
throughout the
I
week.
was-
So
I was awake because I took a friend to finally go see The Desolation of Smaug because she hadn't seen it yet. So.
Oh.
yeah, but I get up at 5:30.
We were at the movies and she's like, I
I'm
can't wait to go
exhausted.
home.
I'm exhausted on a Friday
Tara was
night.
excited. She's like, we got to go home. We got to go home. We got to go home. We got to watch Dracula tonight. And
So cycling back.
no, but I mean, they set it up for failure. But the problem is you can't put it before 10 p.m. because of how graphic it is. They have to deal with the FCC. So it's just a smart move for them is if they are getting canceled and Netflix says, hey, do you want to be on our network?
Netflix
Go.
picks up a lot of shows now.
Because they took over Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And it's doing great.
Yeah, but the reason why Arrested Development got that next season was because on Netflix, interest continued to grow in the series.
Right.
Netflix has, stated pretty loudly about fans getting up and saying, "Hey, why isn't this show getting redone or picked up by Netflix, or why isn't this show?" Is they're not seeing the viewership for it. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons. Like, even as popular as Firefly is, and the fact that the entire season's on Netflix, they're not thinking about buying the rights for it because they don't see people coming back to the show.
Well, but there are other shows that they actually marketed. House of Cards.
Brilliant.
Great show. What's the new one? Orange is the New
Black.
Black. That one
Yeah.
is stealing the show. And I think it's funny that this guy here who got pissed off at Blockbuster and started his own fucking network, is now producing, in one hand, his own TV shows that are now winning awards. And, you can't blame him. House of Cards, you had Kevin Spacey, so you're automatically in a win category.
Yeah.
But Orange is the New Black was a huge risk, and it's panning out. So, to circle back to that, I think if Dracula ends up getting into that cancel state, look for another network. Don't give up on it. I think there's a lot of work
A
they
lot
can
of
do
people,
with this.
a lot of other networks pick up other things when they see that it has potential and they have the available time slots.
Because if everybody loves
Some-
Raymond can get a stupid amount of seasons, Dracula can get a second one.
Yeah, not just that, but anyhow,
Ugh.
cycling back to the
Fucking frog-eating motherfucker.
Wait, what?
I hate Ray Romano. He is not funny, and he sounds like Kermit the Frog.
Oh, okay.
so
I thought. never
we're
mind.
cycling back because Todd keeps jumping on a Segway and
Yeah.
driving away.
Wait,
so
you got a segue?
in different vampire lore, going back to again the lore and the mythology behind it, and just kind of going through different shows, different movies, and how they all differ from each other. What do you think is the furthest stretch from absolutely everything? I've already said it was Twilight.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think that they follow any type of lore, again, with the fact that they can go outside and sparkle and not have to wear, in Vampire Diaries, they
And-
wear the ring, and even in Buffy, they have to be covered.
Yeah.
Nothing happens to them.
And they can freely enter a home without having
Yeah,
to be
you're not being
invited.
invited in. Oh, that drove me nuts. I'm like, but anyhow.
Yeah, without having a fatal flaw, that really does take away from what
How do you defeat a vampire?
they
At
can
that
just
point.
willy-nilly walk wherever they want.
A human
exactly.
Oh, it's like Captain America. He's got fangs. We're fucked.
Yeah. So, we're all in unisons here that Twilight's probably the one that
Absolutely.
is the furthest away.
Between Glitter Boys and Glitter Boys and really no weaknesses, they're
No against mortals.
yeah,
like
Yeah,
a
no
new
weaknesses
a
against
new baby
Droids.
vampire. A new baby vampire is the only way to beat another vampire in Twilight because again they go against it. Where as they get older, they get weaker, and to me that's completely. See, Shermie's getting pissed off too. Jeez.
We have a new guest on the podcast. My fucking 3-pound dog that I poo bigger. Shermie, what are you doing?
Say hi, Shermie.
Say hi, Shermie.
Oh, now you're too shy.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
so they do that backwards. The strongest that a Twilight vampire is right after they become a newborn vampire, and then they get weaker as they get older. So a baby vamp can take out an older vamp because they are the strongest, whereas you go in any other lore, it's this, the older vampire can easily take out strength any of the newer vamps. So
I think that is kind of stupid.
yeah, it is.
Like, I mean, you got what does vampires have as it's garlic, it's crosses, it's
Holy
stay holy water, stake to the heart, chop the head off,
fire.
get it with fire.
And the other thing that really bothers me about the whole Twilight vampires is the lack of being responsible to their maker.
Yeah.
Right. That's been that bond has been a part of vampire lore for a long time as well.
Yeah.
And
They
sired
treat
too.
it they treat it as a virus. They get bitten and then they turn
That's
into
fucking
the vampire. So I mean, it's not the only one though.
yeah, no, there's
Wasn't
been a few like that.
I think it's like
Blade is technically a virus. There's another one as well. I can't think of it right now.
Underworld started out
But Underworld was a virus.
was a virus.
Daybreakers.
Daybreakers, yeah.
So I mean,
What about Lost Boys?
comparing
Did they sire them?
Yes, they were sired.
Okay.
yeah, no, vampirism and being compared to a virus is fairly common thread these days, even if it isn't necessarily the traditional look of it.
Yeah, but I think it sounds stupid, but the siring is a huge sign of respect too, though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if
They
you're
gave you
turned by an
immortality.
original vampire, you bet your fucking bottom dollar that you kiss their fucking feet.
Yeah.
Because no one will be ever able to kill you without asking for permission.
Well, look at Pam and Eric on True Blood. He is one of the oldest vampires, aside from. Why can't we think of his name?
Oh, Russell.
Russell, yeah.
Russell with his boyfriend in the cup.
Yeah, that was
Aw.
weird.
That was
But I mean, yeah, not even just that, but you see the loyalty between all of the vampires and their makers. Even Tara hated Pam, but she became loyal to her when Pam made her. Even Pam turned her attitude around. She may not have wanted anything to do with Tara, but after she, I made her. She's mine, and then they grew closer. So I just think that it's. The fact that they didn't do that in Twilight, it does kind of bother me as well.
Yeah, but Twilight is not sold as this is a vampire film. It's sold as a
a love
teenager
story.
love story that
Yeah.
we can really live without. Now, they beat the shit out of that. If you think about it, though, they did beat the shit out of that storyline, and now you have all these Hunger Game knockoffs coming out. I call them knockoffs because now there's one called Divergence. There's
Well, as far as publication goes, they all came out within the same 3 or 4 year period. I don't know if you'd necessarily call it.
Well, I mean,
knockoff.
they're-
But you'd
it's
have
'cause
to
they're-
wait.
they're all.
you should spend. I mean, you're selling. It's like you're trying to cram all this shit in the same market when you can space it out.
Well, they're trying to cram it all in now. 1, because it's popular. 2, because the demographic that read the books is now old enough to be able to pay money to go see the movies. So, they strike while the iron's hot, which is why we're seeing so many YA movies in development, so that those people can make their cash off the people that enjoy the books.
Oh, it's a huge cash cow.
Shermie, talk in the microphone.
Oh yeah.
What's your opinion on
He
vampires?
spends 10 minutes barking and then he's got stage
I know,
fright.
he's stage fright, just like Mummy.
So we are gonna go on to the Souls thing, even though this caused a huge.
It wasn't even that bad. Believe it or not, it ended up being one of our most top-rated episodes. So you know what?
I'm not talking. Anyway.
It's a soulless episode.
Well, I can't say whether or not they have a soul. I think that it depends on the vampire that we're talking about. If it's a virus, they don't technically die. They just It's almost like it's an illness. They get
Yeah.
sick and then boom, you're a vampire. You got to feed on human blood. You think they still have a soul for that?
See, it's
Since they
tough.
didn't die.
When you're looking at the viral approach, certainly I can believe they still have a soul because technically it's they're still themselves. They just now have some heightened abilities. Some serious allergies like to UV light and
I like how you put that, allergies.
Side effects may include,
Garlic.
but
right. So
Intolerance to garlic.
you're right. It depends on which vampire genre we're looking at, whether or not they're souls. But if you look at the traditional vampire, the canon vampire, the Stoker's vampire, and everything that kind of stemmed off of that, then no, they are completely soulless because they've made a deal with Satan to be immortal, thus giving up their soul.
You think that when they meet the true death, are they going to meet up with their soul wherever it is in the afterlife?
I don't think so.
Is their soul already in hell and
I-
they're just walking, just being corpses?
I think they don't get their soul back. I think whatever.
I'm not saying to get the soul back.
Or-
I'm saying
or
when
re-
they meet the true death,
or
their
re-
soul is already there.
Well, if their soul even still exists, who knows what happens to it once it's been removed from them?
If they made a deal with the devil, then it's in hell.
Well, then that's where they're going.
Then that's where,
And
Well,
that's
maybe-
what I mean.
And
That's
maybe
that's
they'll
where
bump
they
into
end up.
Constantine and be like, "Hey, heard you're getting a TV show, man."
so they end up in hell. Whether they end up getting reunited with their soul or whether the devil just uses it as like a plaything, I have no idea. But that's getting into a metaphysical conversation.
But I mean, now we got the TV shows. Now it's see, vampires. The biggest change between vampires over the years is the fact that it's gone from a religion-based vampire to a diverse vampire. Then it makes you go, well, now the range back to the question is, was their soul was ever in question now? Because now their soul is different. Like, I mean, you got the other, like the Dracula now, where it's not religion-based at all. It's all based by fucking vampire versus a fucking millionaire fucking gentleman's club. And there's no talks to religion. We don't know if he actually died and turned into a vampire. We don't know if he was born into that way. So it's a lot harder. But if we go to say Bram Stoker's Dracula years ago, yes, his soul was in question. Yes, his soul was already in hell, and I feel that his soul, when he died, he basically was transferred completely to hell to spend the rest of his life in eternity. Yeah. But I think to make everyone happy and to get away from the soul conversation, that's why most movies now come out with vampire genre. They'll even go into a religion aspect in it, because it probably could start a holy war.
Yeah, well, it's not even so much that it's a religious aspect, because a lot of them, I mean, again, traditional, like back, earliest vampire stories, it was making a deal with the devil, therefore their soul's in hell. But you look at Supernatural, when a vampire meets their true death, they go to purgatory. They answer that. Purgatory is neither heaven or hell. Actually, and depends on the religion that you believe in. Purgatory is just kind of a waiting game for if you're pagan.
Like the waiting room in Beetlejuice?
Yeah, actually that's purgatory.
That would fucking suck, because I would be stuck inside that head shrinker.
That's exactly what the waiting room in Beetlejuice is. That's purgatory. In different, at least one sense of purgatory. In Supernatural, it's where all the monsters go after they've met their true death. So the vampires in Supernatural go to purgatory, and a lot of them touch on it, because even in Buffy, you can get your soul back. It's just, it's got to be done by a gypsy curse, and there's things to do it, but you can get it back.
Yeah.
And then there's things like True Blood, where after Eric's maker, Godric, after he comes back to him, and he says there's nothing but peace after. So, to me, I kind of thought, well, again, was their soul already wherever this is? Maybe to them it's heaven, depending on what they did in their human life. That's what I think. I mean, if in their human life they lived, a good life, not, you didn't have any random murderous sprees while you were human, and if the transformation is being drained of your blood, you die, and then you get filled with the blood of your maker, I think their soul's already wherever it is.
Well, yeah, because when they cursed Angel again, I mean, they obviously pulled the soul out of somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So.
What? Whatever, he's bones now. His soul is there.
He's making a lot of good TV shows now, apparently. I don't watch Bones, though, but or it's good. But I think that, you know what? When we're at the Comic-Con in March, we'll ask What's-Her-Face from Buffy that's going to be there.
I don't know if Charisma Carpenter's going to be there. I think that's
She was
just an
supposed
old
to-
picture.
You think so?
It's kind of sad because I like her. I
Yeah.
loved her as Cordelia.
I honestly
I don't like Mean Girls,
Remember
but oh
her?
my gosh, she played it so well.
Yeah.
But
This is the March Toronto Comic Con?
Yep.
I'll see if she's in this.
Well, we had John Heder, T-Dog, Chicken Man Gus from Breaking Bad.
the companion from Firefly, I can't remember her name.
Oh, the horror.
Oh, Marina.
The one that never
Marina
shows up at her
Basser.
cons?
She's well, she's in Homefront now too,
Yeah, but
which is really good.
If she's there, well.
this is a tough question to ask because, I mean, if you really think about it, there's so many different angles on how you can answer this question. Was religion involved? Is the religion not involved? You know, is it purgatory? Do they believe in a purgatory?
I mean, I don't
My
consider
soul is
myself
based off of
religious.
religion, though.
Yes,
Like,
it's based out of spirituality.
spirituality.
And religion, they kind of tie in together, but spirituality
Kinda.
is just kind of
They kinda-
believing in
they are.
in some
Like, you
kind
don't
of
have to be
divine.
religious to believe that you
In-
have a
Well,
soul.
no, everyone
Yeah.
has. There's multiple different beliefs in it, but I mean,
And that's why, again, this is where it comes through, where supernatural, they go to purgatory. In Old Mist, they're already in hell because they've made a deal with the devil. In True Blood, their soul is in peace afterwards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's different. I personally believe it's judged by how you lived your human life.
I don't know.
And that's my opinion. I'm not going to try and
Oh,
sit
but-
here and.
What do you
convince
mean? You're trying to
people.
force it on me. Shut up.
Well, I can see that to a point, but I mean, if you willingly submit to becoming a vampire, I think he kind of takes away from what you've done in your human life.
And when you're a vampire, when you slaughter innocent people to feed, I think you kind of make your past life null and void, no?
But that's what I'm saying. The soul's already gone.
Well,
I think.
I
if
don't
you-
know. It's kind of like... I see where your point is. I get where your point is.
I think after they die and then they come back as a vampire. I think that because they've died, their soul is left. That's my point. Whatever they do as a vampire, to me, is null and void. Because I don't think they have a soul. They've already died.
Right, and we see that because Joss Whedon does that very well. When Angel gets his soul back, they kind of show him going through everything that he did as Angelus.
Yeah.
And he suffers with that.
Yeah. He's remorseful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever want to be a vampire. Because knowing my luck, we find out when I become a vampire that your soul is just given to Tom Cruise. I don't know how I would live with that. I think I would just stake myself at that point.
Ultimately, the one consistency from the beginning of the first, vampire to now is bloodlust.
Yep, that's true.
That's the one continuous.
And that's
the
really
one hard
upsetting.
thing that whether you have a soul or not, they still,
Is bloodlust and no, because you can't stake a vampire in Twilight, can you?
No, you have to behead them and tear
what
their
the
body
fuck?
apart and set them on fire.
Ah.
That's why I say no mortal can beat them.
No, mortal. That's see now.
Which is dumb, because humans can defeat vampires in just about everything else. They could stake them, they could shoot them in the heart, they could, cut their head off with a freaking axe. But in Twilight, it's, nope, you're screwed.
yeah.
See, that's unfair.
Yeah. Oh, I know it's not. I know. That's why. That's why I don't want to really talk about Twilight anymore.
Why, Bella?
No more.
Why?
Stop.
All right.
I don't look like Kristen Stewart. I really don't.
There will be a comparison photo eventually on
Oh my
our
God.
page.
So.
We'll let our listeners pick. If they like the picture, that means they agree she's Bella. If they do anything else, like comment, they don't. Or no, you're like they'll like and comment and say that, wow, she really does look like Bella. Maybe we should do a photo shoot when you really get into your cosplay of you running through a forest like that, like Bella did.
I've been told. I worked in a costume store, and someone says, "You look like," and that's when it started. You look like Kristen Stewart. I'm like,
But the thing is, though, you tell people that people accuse you of being Kristen Stewart, so now they have ammunition to make this up and bring.
so
your
what
face
you
up.
guys are saying is that I should patent my face, and then I should sue Stephanie Myers.
Jennifer Lopez sues people over their ass. Why can't you sue people over your face?
Because my face isn't patented.
You
So I
should.
should
don't
patent it, and then I'll be like, you use my likeness.
You cannot
Give me
have
billions.
J-Lo's ass. That's the thing. I think it's hilarious that you cannot have J-Lo's ass.
No matter how many lunges. So, segueing back to the topic, quit it, Todd. If you were, like, you've already stated that you wouldn't want to be a vampire if...
Well, I don't want to be a vampire, period, because
No.
quite honestly, it's not appealing to me. Living forever, yeah, sure. But I mean,
Oh,
that's a selling... Of course, that'd be a selling point. That's what everyone would want, is like,
immortality.
great, I get immortality, but I can't go out during the day, so going to see an afternoon matinee movie is going to suck. And I have to feed all the time to ensure I stay alive. And then I'm constantly battling morality and my emotions every day. I don't need to be a vampire to have these issues. I do it very well. Right, Taryn?
Anyway, no, if I was a vampire, I would definitely would have the option to shut my humanity off. I probably would.
Cold bitch.
I know, seriously.
No,
like, 'cause it would kill me.
It makes perfect
No pun
sense. I'd like to
intended.
turn it off and...
But I don't think that's fair. I think it's a bitch way out. Like, if you're going to be a vampire and you get all these perks, to turn off your emotions isn't fair. Because then I want to be able to turn my emotions off if I'm human.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I mean...
You made that's a good point.
obviously, it would help you. It would greatly be a huge benefit to be able to turn your emotions off so you can feed. Sure. But, I mean, that's not a fair perk to anything. And I think, what show is the only show that...
Well, a lot of people would see that as a strength because you could do whatever you want without remorse or consequence.
There's people who do it without...
Well, there's always consequence.
There's
not
always
It
consequence.
doesn't
Yeah,
have to be
like
remorse.
in-
But there's always consequence.
Yeah, but not affecting the vampire who doesn't, like...
Well,
Well, I mean,
so
if-
if all of a sudden a horde of people come at you with torches and pitchforks, I think that's a consequence.
That is a little bit of a consequence.
If they find you.
Yeah.
You have to sleep at some point.
Yeah, but they're super fast. You can get the hell out of Dodge.
Not in the
a lot
daylight, they're not
faster.
super fast. They're super scared. Open all the windows. You know what? I'm always stand by that vampire weaknesses will always be the same for me. I don't give a shit what Twilight does. Cross, garlic, all that shit, that existed forever. That's how it is. And you know what? The further the point, if they ever decide to make another vampire movie, how about you bring one up about souls? Then this question that we've been kicking around will be answered. By
Well,
then.
it's not so much. It's just because in different shows
Because it's
and
never
movies.
explored. I think Constantine's the only one that really kind of... Constantine, which is not even a vampire movie, that really got into the soul part of it, of how his soul with the purgatory, with the hell, he had to go to hell to do blah, 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 blah. He did... That part you got to see, but, I mean, I'd like to see what it's like in someone's eyes. What would happen if a vampire gave up the soul? I would like to see that. That's me.
Yeah.
Because I
Pretty
believe in
good
good
point.
films.
Yeah.
Right, Shermy? Attaboy.
Just chilling.
He's
So-
gonna...
What kind of vampire would you be, Rainer?
Would you fly?
That's a difficult question
'cause
because
really
you have so many different, again, shows and movies, but I would probably like to be a supernatural vampire. They look fucked when they're about to feed, but like their fangs are, all of their teeth become razor sharp.
Yeah.
They are not attractive, but they can go out in the sun, and again, it's more traditional because it's not that they're unaffected. It's just it hurts them. So I can go for a walk at the store and be okay, but I better hurry the fuck back in the house before I get too burned. So I don't know. I like that idea.
Well, I
And-
think if I had to be a vampire, absolutely have to be a vampire no matter what, I'd probably be a John Carpenter's vampire. Because you know what? They stuck true to everything that was a vampire. And they didn't have an on or off switch for their emotions. They were just off.
Well, neither does Supernatural. Like Benny has to live with everything that he's done.
But you know what I noticed is that no one brought up 30 Days of Night.
I was just going to.
Were you?
Wasn't
Like,
it
why
40?
would you bring up that shitty ass film?
Wasn't it 40 Days of Night?
30.
It was 30 Days of Night?
I have it only because, if you don't know, Brian hates that movie with a passion. So for 2 years, I bought him that
Ammunition.
fucking movie for his birthday. I gave him because it pisses him off. But I have both copies because he would purposely bring it over, put it in my DVD collection, and leave.
I
But-
don't know, if I were to have to be a vampire, I think I'd probably fall into the underworld. style of
Really?
vampires. Yeah.
The Kate Beckinsale, Scott Speedman, weird ass mutant baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's
Because they still have enough weaknesses that I don't have to be immortal for the whole time.
But I liked Underworld.
And you know, hey, I wouldn't mind being really strong, able to jump off of tall buildings. And
Now, are we talking like the Kate Beckinsale vampire, or are we talking about that fucking crazy ass hybrid?
No, just like a vampire.
Oh, okay.
Vampire. I still not the
werewolf vampire.
Not that I fed on the original source of the vampire virus, and now I can walk around in daylight. No. Just the vampire.
Just the regular one. See, that's not too bad either, because even that vampire is not too bad.
But what if you had a choice? Because we did miss a topic.
What?
That if you had a choice, like say you were diagnosed with something that was incurable, and someone said, I can, like in true, actually that's how a lot of things start is, you know, Nora had the Black Plague and Godric turned her. So if something like that happened, if there was some kind of plague going around, would you want to take the option to be a vampire?
But in those situations, though, even in Daybreakers, when Buddy turned his brother, because he knew that virus would have wiped them out, but turning him into a vampire would have kept them alive, I think it's not explained to its fullest extent. Like, if I found out that Taryn was dying of cancer and I was a vampire and she didn't know, I would sit down with her and I'm like, listen, here's the facts. Like, this is what's going to happen. You are going to die by cancer, or I'm going to turn you into a vampire, and you'll never go outside, and you will hate crosses. What do you think? That's how I would basically lie. When you watch, like, even Interview with the Vampire, the little girl, when they turned Kirsten Dunst, who actually had a promising acting career at that point, turned her into a vampire. He didn't sit there and say, you're going to live forever. He basically said, you're going to survive this. And now she was alive, has a child for the rest of her life. That was lunacy.
Yeah.
Imagine being stuck in the body of a 10-year-old girl for your whole life. I don't even know how Brian does it. He's stuck in the mind of a 10-year-old boy.
Well,
without being a vampire.
And that's crazy as it is.
But like, so do you? I'm trying to remember Interview with the Vampire. At first, she kind of resents it, and then she kind of
he did the same. No, because he did the same thing to Louis. Is that I can take away your pain. He didn't lay it out on the table and say, so your life is going to change dramatically. It's that I can take away your pain.
Yeah, and so that's what you would do. You would explain it to people.
Absolutely.
But if it's like a life or death situation, you know, Taryn gets hit. You know, I'm using Taryn as a dying example.
You're going to die. Is what we're trying, but not right now. Maybe in like 60 years.
But what if something happens? Like if you see one of your best friends get hit by a car, and it's like,
which one?
I don't know.
Well, that does.
It does make a difference, but obviously, if you're asking that question, pick the person that you care the most about.
Well, it depends. They get hit by a bus. What if a limb comes off? I don't want to turn them out.
But at the same time, you also, like, to a lot of people, becoming a vampire, like, you know, Twilight plays this, Buffy, Vampire Diaries, you risk losing your humanity or your soul. So a lot of people don't want it.
Like, you gotta be careful who you turn. Like, you don't know how they're gonna react to it. Like,
exactly. Like,
because for all we know, we turn Baker, and then Baker becomes a fucking sadist.
A sadist?
Sadist. No, sorry.
Who's to say I'm not already, and
I'm a slimier. Oh,
yeah,
fuck you.
Hey, at least I took it off.
It was an iPhone fail.
At least I took it off before it became a problem. It's not like anybody sees the Twitter posts on the Facebook page anyway. I think it's only
3 people did. Thank you.
So anyway,
that's probably the people that saw
you do have to kind of watch who you're turning, because look at Eric. You know, he got turned 2,000 years ago when Vikings were dominating, and then he kind of kept that persona. He mentions it all the time that I'm a Viking king, and you know, if you just kind of turn someone who's just a tra-la-la, I'm going to work a 9-to-5 day, and you know, now turn someone who is a complete psychopath. And
yeah, that's a huge thing though, is that like, yeah, if I saw one of my friends get by a car and they're like dying, I would honestly try my hardest to cram everything into like one sentence. Like, I can turn you, but you're going to lose your fucking mind. You're never going to be able to go outside. You're going to hate garlic, you're going to hate crosses, and you're going to want to eat people. What do you think?
Well, they become an entirely different entity, so really, either way, they're going to lose part of themselves. If not.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a huge, like, every time someone gets turned in a fucking movie, it's like, I can take away your pain. You made their pain worse after you turned them. Like, look at Louis. He went insane for hundreds of years in Interview with the Vampire because he didn't want to be this person. But he couldn't bring himself to kill himself.
Yeah, because you do want. That's the thing is that
when he was finally
look
at
how
his lowest point, where he was at that point, he was going to off himself. Lestat brought him a kid.
And you know what? That's the thing with a lot of people. Like, and they touch this. They touch base on this in fucking Twilight. Is that Rosalie wants babies and she'll never have babies. And I think that's the thing with a lot of people. I mean, I don't want kids, so it's not. If someone said you can never have kids, all right.
High five.
Yeah, like cool, sign me up. But some people want children, and to be a vampire around anybody, it's hard to have any self-control unless you become older, and as you get older you get more control.
In time.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, that's
would you want to? But another thing to ask yourself: do you want to be alive to the end of days? Like, do you want to be? Do you want to know what World War III would look like? Do you want to know what would happen once the sun eventually does explode and wipe out the entire Earth? Do you want to be around for that? I can tell you, I don't. I am copacetic with the hunt. And every vampire, really, if you think about it, look for a place to die. After, like, even Billith. Like, even Bill was at the point of, I don't care if I die at this point. I've seen too much. Yeah. But
there are options for them. I mean, here, carve out your own steak and stab it in your heart.
Yeah,
and
but
they're done.
Not everyone.
Wait out in the sun, like... Unless
they do
the
take
explodes.
on a piece of a god complex when they become a vampire, because they have that power over people. They can glamour, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and make people do whatever the hell they want. So they know they put themselves higher up, which does see back to Baker's point. So them killing themselves is probably beneath them. They would probably.
Yeah, but look at Godric. He was a good example of someone who lived long enough and just.
He was cool with dying,
yeah.
But he didn't kill himself.
Yeah, he did.
He let nature
take
its
out in the sun.
He could just take himself by his own point. Why didn't he just do that?
But he waited out to the sun because he knew it was going to be also the quickest.
Yeah.
He burst, like the older they get in True Blood, the quicker that they are. That any bit of sunlight can right away.
You have to see the sun on the way out.
Exactly, and that's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to get staked. He wanted to see the sun for the last because he hadn't seen it in over 3,000 years.
And then the crying scene with Eric Northman happened.
Well, it was his maker.
And then everyone tried staking themselves. He is not a good crier. I'm sorry.
We're not going to jump into acting.
It's difficult to act the cry. Let's be honest.
It's not. I will say that, but wow.
I think it might
snot dripping and stuff like that. Like, oh.
Oh, you're sexy, but not anymore.
You're just like, oh, and people want to bang you?
But that's how Godric wanted to go. He wanted to see the sun on his way out. So, I mean, I don't think that killing themselves is beneath them. It's just, eventually...
but Godric is a 1 in a million vampire, though.
But he
kept his moral compass.
But look at humans. Not all humans keep their fucking moral compass in check.
No, but he was a vampire that kept it. Like, Eric, we all know, went through a massive stage in his life where he didn't give a fuck.
No.
However, if Godric called upon him is when his moral compass kicked back in. But I think, and that's just something that Godric pulled out of him. That's just how his character worked with him, because 1, that was his maker, and 2, Eric always looked up to him so much. But with Godric out of the picture, you had the weird storyline I don't even want to talk about. But I like Eric Northman as a badass vampire who doesn't give a fuck, because he's a very vicious vampire. We'll see. I don't know. We'll probably get another season of him crying at some point.
Well, that's if he didn't burn to death on the mountaintop.
No, he didn't. I know he didn't.
No, he could have dug his way into the snow really fast.
The women would have cried days.
Well, that's why True Blood is ending, is because he doesn't want to do True Blood anymore. So
do you blame him? He's trying to branch out. Like, no one has even seen Alexander Skarsgård's first TV show. I saw it. I thought it was amazing. Generation Kill. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Mm-hmm. It was. And let's not forget his great performance in the blockbuster summer film Battleship.
That was all sarcasm.
Yep.
But I mean, the guy wants to do something in his own career. I get that.
That's fine, yeah. It's
not like Bill Compton's going to have a career after this.
Yeah, this has been Stephen Moyer's big thing. Yeah. It's been a lot of people's big thing. I mean, a lot of them had guest stars on TV shows, but this has been a lot of their first...
what's his face's career? The werewolf.
Joe.
Elsie, and launched his
Joe
career.
Manganiello?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I pushed him.
He had a little bit before True
Yeah,
Blood, but not
he
much.
He was a roadie for Goldfinger, like.
Like, I mean,
He's such a nerd too, which is
he's
awesome.
I listened to him on a podcast once. This guy is like, if there's like a level of geek, he is above the geek level. Like he can tell you shit, and there's things I don't even know. Like I found out that John Hamm from Mad Men, that guy is a diehard geek, and he would never strike me as a geek. But
It's because we come in all shapes and sizes, folks.
that's what she's.
Anyway, so.
Oh, this is a good question, and you know what? Depends on if you turn the switch on or off.
The question being, because you didn't really ask it, if you had
Well,
the ability,
I wasn't asking it. I was setting
if you
you
had
up.
the ability
Segue.
to survive on animal blood, would you, or would you kill and feed on a human?
Well, it all comes down again to moral compass and whether or not souls exist after you turn into a vampire.
Yes.
I can honestly tell you, I don't want to be a vampire. So if I'm turned, I'm not going to give a fuck.
You're not gonna give a
Because
fuck.
I'm going to be that angry at the world.
I think. See, I would try, if I still had some kind of moral compass and a conscience, I would pull a Dexter and I would go to a jail and I would find the worst criminals ever, and I would, if I had the ability to glamour or hypnotize, I would say, let me into that cell, or I would just kill my way through, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a lot of work. Like, I mean, you got to like kill a lot of people just to get into the jail, and there's going to be innocent people in the process.
That's why you just glamour. You just you glamour your way through, and then you say, just let me into the jail cell, whatever. Give me the keys, and then I'd open the cell, and I would feed on a couple criminals a night. Done.
Yeah, but if there'd be like a national issue, people would be like, "There's this really weird, freaking Kristen Stewart wannabe vampire in Thorold Penn. Can we send the military because she keeps eating people, and she could be cannibal, but we don't know." But she doesn't come out during the day. So...
Yeah, good luck trying to find
No, man. But I mean, just kind of like, I'm going to kill this guard, I'm going to glamour this guard, blah, blah. I'm going to get inside and be like, oh, there's only 300 of you. Well, that would give me a couple weeks at least.
Yeah, but...
Well, if I don't know.
If you turn to like
I
a
would try
Dexter...
and use it for good. I would probably instill a code like Dexter has.
That's what I said. Feed on criminals.
Yeah.
Feed on like the worst
But that
people in
means
the
you
world, like rapists.
have to
would
justify
eat them
your
first.
actions.
Yeah.
Because just because someone's in jail...
I'm hungry. He's a rapist. I'm gonna.
How
I'm
do you
gonna
know he's a
kill him.
rapist? Did you watch him do the rape? You have to... The thing with Dexter is that he did his research. He
Who
figured
says I wouldn't?
Yeah.
If I'm
It's a lot of
immortal,
fucking work.
If-
And
and I'm immortal. What the fuck else am I gonna do with my
let's not
time?
forget.
Play a lot of Resident Evil.
Let's not forget, guys. I mean, how many people get wrongly convicted every year?
That's the point where I was going, is that we can do all that.
Which is why
Well, you just said
do
you're going to
your
walk into like a
research.
prison and start just eating criminals, so that means you're going to have to sit there, pull up
This
all
is
these
why I
files,
said
and be
I
like,
would
today
totally
Eric Smith is being eaten. I'm going to go talk to his
If you're gonna
family.
take a human life, you better make damn sure that
It's
justify it.
exactly
trust me,
that
if I
I
was taking
know
human
that
life,
they've
it
done
would
the
be
crime
very
that they're
justified.
paying for. Like Dexter's killed a few innocent people, and
They
he's
were
felt bad about it.
accidents.
They were accidents, but I would
And
research.
Really, marginally, mistakes are gonna happen. I mean, so what's one or two?
It's called trial and error.
Yeah.
Oh, you
No.
find out the news like 2
I
days
didn't-
later. Oh, so and so was found not guilty. Oops.
Listen, I thought it was a zombie baby. I pitched it into the fire, and I found out after that it wasn't a zombie baby. It was just a rare baby. But you know what? Mistakes happen. Lesson learned. And
Let's move on from
let's
this.
move
okay?
on from
Bye.
this.
Yeah, thanks.
What movie was that from?
What?
The Exorcism. I think it was just The Exorcism, where it was like a POV, and they were looking for ghosts and stuff, and they ended up coming across a cult, and they had this baby, and they said this baby was going to be like Satan, and then in the scene, the guy finds where they're having this fucking bonfire in this cult's at. You just see the guy just pitch the baby into a fucking bonfire, and I was like, what the fuck was that? No, I own it. It's not The Exorcism of Emily Rose, because that was
No.
just weird.
That had nothing
I
to
think
do
it was
with
just
the
called
cult.
The Exorcism or something. Or no, The Last Exorcism, because they made a sequel to it.
Oh,
Thus
okay.
making it not a Last Exorcism.
The second last exorcism.
The second to last Exorcism. But, I mean, I would love to do the Dexter killing, but I mean, realistically, I'm not going to want to be a vampire. I'm going to be angry anyways. I'm just going to murder people.
You think?
I honestly think that's what would happen. The person we should be worried about is Brian.
I think
Brian would be
I
a
love
very
how everybody doesn't think they would need to be worried about me.
no, because you still would carry a moral compass.
You think so?
I think so.
You think if I had that much power?
Yeah, you'll probably be drunk with power, but eventually someone bigger and better
we
will
had
knock down the
we
pegs.
had a superhero topic, and you were always the one that said that you would use your powers for good.
Yes.
Right. That
What are
was
you
super-
setting us up for failure?
Yeah.
Are you
But no,
contradicting yourself now?
That was superpowers where I didn't have to depend on human blood for life.
Well, you need to depend on people since you were Professor Xavier in a wheelchair, but you just want to come out and like you just want to come out and say you were Xavier Wheels.
I wasn't telepathic. I was telekinetic.
Oh God! But I think you'd be a pain in the ass, but I don't think you would go overboard. I don't think you would be like, today I'm wiping out Nigeria. Like I don't think you would be like that. I think you'd be. I'm gonna go in this nightclub and I'm gonna feed, and then when I'm done, I'm probably gonna go home and just play me some
You look
Mass
for
Effect.
the places that need population control or something.
There's
I
it's
just
too
didn't
sunny in Nigeria, guys.
Oh yeah, shit. Antarctica then? No, there's no one there.
No, it's
Alaska.
too sunny in Antarctica too.
Whoa,
For like 6 months out of the
If
year.
Professor Xavier became a vampire,
that'd be bad. Like
would he be able to walk again?
you know what? That is a good idea. They never explored that. What if? Because they did do a series of Marvel
'Cause I'm
zombies.
sorry, but I've yet to see a vampire roll in the streets.
I think you would get use of your life. I don't know. Would you?
They've
got regenerative powers, right? You can.
Well, exactly. That's why I was.
So I
saying.
would think that yes.
I got that stupid video in my head of fucking epic rap battles of history of Stephen Hawking's because it's just a picture of him in a fucking wheelchair with a lowrider. See, I don't know where that came from, but no. But here's one thing that never was explored: is that what if a mutant turned into a vampire? Like, let's say the Incredible Hulk turned into a vampire. Terrifying. Hulk smash.
Hulk, eat your blood
Literally.
afterwards. Like,
Oh, and he just uses your body as a fucking ketchup bottle as he's pouring the blood out. Like, or even Deadpool's a vampire.
bloodletting.
No, but they never did a crossover like that. I think that'd be kind of fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it would be. The thought of that. Already superhuman into more superhuman
Like,
strength.
They have vampires in the Marvel Universe, like Michael Morbius, and then you got your Blade.
Yeah.
But they never did a cross. Now I'm actually curious. I'm gonna look.
I don't know.
You heard it here first. We are starting a
Like I'm gonna
Mutant
write my
vampire
own fucking
movie.
screenplay. Like, yeah, sure. Like, you got certain people that.
featuring Kristen Stewart lookalike. Fuck! Is that what I'm casted as?
Seriously, I'm gonna get this comic book cover done for our page, just of all the amends and me, and you will be the Kristen Stewart. Like it'll be like the Walking Dead cover. You'll have Baker murdering people, Brian using zombies as baseballs,
And me laying
and
there
Taryn
helpless.
sitting there doing an Alice pose in Resident Evil, and then you running in a forest like Kristen Stewart.
Fuck.
That's all I would fucking do because I would find it humorous. Like I don't even know what to tell you, but the fact is, you're Kristen Stewart. You need to come out of the closet about it.
No, I'm gonna
Yeah.
stay in here as long as I can.
No, it's getting very tight in there.
Yeah, with all my money of not having money of looking like Kristen Stewart.
But now I want to see it. Now it's blowing my mind. Now I want to see a mutant vampire. Like we got to make it happen.
Yeah.
We got to make it happen. It just needs to.
Give Stan Lee a call.
Stan Lee doesn't really have anything to do.
He's more of a co-writer. If
Yeah,
anything,
if
he's
anything.
taking a back seat. He's like retired.
What are you doing? What about a vamp? Oh, I was gonna say they never did a vampire dog.
Pictures?
Yes.
No, don't take anything.
Oh, fine.
Don't take anything.
I didn't. I just got Todd. Relax.
Does it look? Do I look fat in this one? Because the last one looked horrible and I deleted it. I'm sorry. By the way, everyone, I'm fat. I can't. I just wanted to be honest with everyone. No, but
No, actually, all of these are really just bad resolution.
that's okay. It's on an iPad. I don't judge you. But all right, I think this one's done in the books. Episode 14.
Yep.
So we
We
got.
didn't have any chimichangas though.
I did. I had two
Oh, yeah,
this
you had
morning.
two
300
earlier.
calories of doom per
How's your-
chimichanga.
How's your heart doing?
It's good. Doing
Good?
good. Doing good.
No chest
For some reason, my
pains?
knee hurts.
Still, it's not your left
That
arm.
I think is the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, my head hurts. Fucking low pressure system.
Yeah, this weather fucking sucks. But all right, well, we'll be back for another episode next week. We don't even know what it is. Well, no. What do we want to do, Baker?
I think next week we are going to
Surprise!
No,
We're
actually,
gonna
not
fly
so-
at the seat of our pants next week.
Actually, there's a couple things that I want to talk about right before we sign off. First, we'll give you a quick preview of what we're looking at and building up for next week. The first thing being, we're going to look at some of the mid-season replacements that have come out on some of the cable networks. We're going to take a look at Helix, which is on Showcase here in Canada, and Bitten, which is on Space here in Canada, and I believe is on Sci-Fi in the States. As well, I think we're going to talk. What else were we going to
True
cover?
Detective.
Yeah, and True Detective from HBO with Matthew McConaughey and
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, thank you. I can never remember his name. I don't know why. He's not Woody from Cheers anymore. But I also want to thank Ash and Hillary and Scott and Matt, the guys over at Nerd Appropriate, for giving us a shout out on their last episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks a lot for that, guys. We really do appreciate it. And any of our fans, give them a listen to as well. They're an excellent podcast. And they have a lot of coverage, especially if you're BioWare fans like me, of their panels from both PAX East and PAX Prime from 2013. Some really interesting and useful stuff there. The only other thing that I think I wanted to talk about was... Nope, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, this is our first podcast that Taryn made it for.
And we're very glad that you came
Thanks
out.
for coming downstairs. We're not that bad.
Well, we are, but...
We're not that bad. Well,
we
no.
tend to be.
It's kind of good that, for your first podcast that Brian wasn't here, because he probably would have drove you up a wall just because he's Brian. I know you're happy about that deep down inside. But, okay.
I think we're all happy about that deep down inside.
All right, so who wants to say it?
Taryn.
No, I don't think Taryn knows it.
All right, thanks for listening and enjoy your chimichangas.
Because I already had 2.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Thanks for listening to the Droids You Are Looking For podcast. Stay tuned for next week's podcast.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.